All right. Well, we are here, Sharpless alumni, with Jason Grimes of Blair, West Virginia. Jason, hello.
Hey, Jeff.
It's good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you, bub.
Yeah, thank you for volunteering to do this. Jason has graciously volunteered to hop on here and be the next installment of a stag, the history of the stags, and kind of talk a little bit about your childhood and growing up, Spruce and Sharpless, and what you've been doing all these years later. And we really want to just get some of your memories and get them down so that we can have them for good measure down the road. Man, we were just talking before we hit record. My first recollection of you was Blair Little League. And this was 1985 was my first year, and I was on the TJs.
Yeah.
You played for the
Athletics. Barry Mines was my coach.
Barry Mines. Oh my gosh, that's Mila's brother, right?
No. I love that guy. Oh my gosh.
That's Mila's brother, right? Barry?
It is.
He did coach the A's along with was Baldy the assistant coach?
Baldy was the assistant coach because Mikey was on there with us. Yeah.
Tell me about that team, and then I'll tell me
about
that
team was. We was picked to finish dead last, and you had Danny Baldwin. Remember him? I
was going to say the TJs won the championship that year. I mean, we won the championship, but anyway, the A's were picked to go dead last.
Oh, absolutely, and we got to the championship, and we played the Blair Bears. It's Donnie Burgess's team.
Yeah,
Frank Early, Frank.
Yeah,
Danny played for the UMWA guys. But they were so good. But Barry Mines took us back at where the old foundation was back there.
Yeah, the old school there.
Yes,
right.
And he would look at us, and I will never forget this. He would say, "Okay, guys, this is do or die. This here is do or die." And we won that first game. He'd come back at the second game. I think we was losing that second game. This is do or die. That was his word. This is do or die. And we didn't know whether to be scared to death or motivated.
Are we gonna die? We're just kids.
Yeah, and I'll never forget this. That's when I had T-ball. Remember that?
Yeah.
This guy named Ronald Carter. He was a little guy. He hit off the T-ball. All we needed was one hit, Jeff, and we won the whole thing. The great Lenny Workman gets up to bat. We have a man on first.
Lenny was on the
A. Yeah. This is a championship game to win it all. And Lenny Workman was up to bat. We had a man on first and a man on third. All he had to do was get a base hit. I was before Lenny. I popped out to center field. 2 outs. I'm like, oh my gosh. Barry comes and looks at me and goes, do or die. Well, Lenny, come here. And then he told Lenny, do or die. Lenny cracked that ball, scored the run. We won the game. And all you heard from the mothers, big green machine, big green machine.
Hey, big green machine.
And that was the proudest moment we ever had. I mean, we was absolutely, that was the proudest moment of my life, awesome. Then. Yeah. Because I thought we was done. And even Frank, I remember Frank coming over, hitting me on the butt, and he hits pretty hard. Frank was big back then. He
was big in Little League.
Yeah. And he smacked me, said, y'all played a great game.
Yeah,
like that. And that was so memorable. I'll never forget that. I mean, it was Lenny Workman hit a high fly ball to center field, the same one I hit, but the guy couldn't get to it. And this kid scored, and it was pandemonium after that. So that is fantastic.
I remember my best friend growing up, Mikey Smith, was an A, and his dad used to he helped coach the A's as well, of course, with his kid being on the A's, and just all those dads. I see Teddy Joe pretty regularly in my life. He and Greg are really good friends, and of course my sister, he's his niece as well. Anyway, all those people that coached us, the dads, pretty much dads and uncles, and they took a lot of time out of their lives to reform that Little League. Because you remember, and I don't know, 85 was my first year with the TJs, and then 86 we did not win it. I think 86 was the year the A's won it, right? Was that the year?
Yeah, we won it in 86. That was it.
85 we won it, and then we lost all of our big players. And anyway,
Yeah.
But I remember like years before that, when I was like 5, 6, and 7, we didn't have a little league, and we'd be like, man, we love baseball. Where are we gonna play baseball? There's no, and all those dads came together and formed that league, and Railhead and Barry Lyons,
Glenn Garner,
Uncle Glenn, and Teddy Joe, and
what was the guy's name? Chris Freeman.
Big Chris Freeman. So Railhead was the coach of UMWA, right? Or was
Railhead was coach of the Bears.
Yes, yeah.
And then Chris Freeman, the dad, was coach of UMWA.
They were mostly.
That's what Danny Baldwin.
Okay,
everybody was scared to death of that guy.
Danny Baldwin was a really big kid, and it felt like he was older than all of us. But
I will go to my grave saying that man was 2 years older than us. I mean, I'm sorry, and I don't. Every ball he hit went up on a rock cliff.
That was the goal. That was the goal when you played at the Blair Field, was to hit one, up on the rock.
That's when you knew you done something.
Dude, I have gone back to that. I don't know when you last time. I go back to that place and wander around several times in my 20s and 30s, and just like, just searching for that.
It's sad.
I don't want to get too emotional here, but like, anyway, I have nothing but just wonderful memories of playing Little League in that field, and just the entire community was just a part of it. And
there was no video games back then, Jeff.
No,
we got outside and played. That was awesome.
It was, man.
That was awesome.
Tell me about, so yeah, like when we came home, like I lived at number 9, it was get out of the house, don't come back until somewhere around supper or after supper or whatever. Like,
Mom,
get out from my feet.
Yep.
Right?
You got any homework? Nope. Get out.
What was it like for you growing up in the infamous Jack Grimes, rest his soul? I loved your dad. What was it like growing up in Jack Grimes' house?
Now you're gonna get me emotional.
All right. Well, we don't have to talk like that. We don't have to talk about
No, I want to. I love talking about my father. My dad was one of the best dads in the world. Everybody's going to say their dads are the best. My dad never showed emotion. He did not show emotion. And you can ask anybody. But in our hearts, we knew he loved us.
Of course.
And, when he passed away, I was in Germany. That hit me so hard. Because the strongest man in your life, he'll never die. That was my mentality thinking. I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
And I got the call 3 days prior. They had cancer, because he just did not want me to know. He knew how bad I would worry in Germany. And when he passed, it was very hard, because I just lost the man in my life that I looked up to, that I strove to be. And he was no longer there. And but my mom, when she stepped in, I couldn't ask for a better mother. She's my best friend. She always has been my best friend. When I'm down, she was always there to pick me up. When everybody else would turn over, and I've done a lot of bad things in my life that I'm not ashamed to talk about it now. She was always there to pick me up. And if it wasn't for her, I'd probably be dead. And,
you have a great mother. She is wonderful. And
yes, I do.
Remember, Joey, you are 2 years older than me, and Joey is 1 year younger than me. So I probably had more basketball time with Joey than you. Of course, when I was a sophomore, I got to play on the team with you, and we played a lot of JV ball together, didn't we?
Yeah.
Ralph Cook was oh my gosh,
He still gets me.
You being
a hard time.
He did, because he knew how much you had in you. You had a lot of athletic ability, but the thing is, you, as much of an athlete as you were, you also had this comic side that, like, everything was a joke. And I have a little bit of, I can relate to that. Like, everything's funny. I remember I just remember a lot of funny stuff. I'm not gonna
the cinder block,
unless you want to jump into those stories, but I'm gonna ask you a few of them.
The cinder block.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, but anyway.
Do you remember when he posted my picture on that Shaq?
Yeah.
Shaq was going up for the dunk, and he posted my picture on there.
Yeah.
That hung up in that coach's room forever. before I even realized it was there.
You had a beautiful jumper. I don't know if anybody, but you remember.
Everybody said that.
You had good air under you had good legs and a beautiful jumper. And I think Ralph just knew how much you had in you.
Yeah, he'd always tell me.
We always get to the point where we're like 30 and like, daggone it, if I had this work ethic when I was 17, I would have known how to work, and worked harder and worked in the off season and stayed strong and run the hills like Coach Cook said, and and just stayed strong before the season and worked on. But you don't. When you're a kid, you're a kid.
No, you don't.
You just want to be a kid.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, but we don't know.
But
we always had so much fun together, though. I always remember laughing when you were around, just all the way. It seems like all the road trips, we would just like huddle around you, and it would just get just crazy with just.
I would just try to relax everybody before the game, because I knew if we went up tight, we was just going to play horrible. And that's one thing I say, that I was good at getting everybody together and making them relax. But I'm the one that was really nervous.
Yeah. You were good at impersonations too. Really good at impersonations.
Well, Jason Williams just posted the other night. He said, when I go order an ice cream cone through McDonald's, I always remember Jace Grimes going through and doing his famous Hulk Hogan voice, wanting an ice cream cone. And I do.
You man or Hulk Hogan?
Hulk Hogan.
Let me hear it.
I remember we went to the drive-thru and Jason said, "Order an ice cream cone." It's Hulk Hogan. I went, "Give me an ice cream cone, sister." And when we pulled up, she was looking at us going, "Who said that?" And every one of them went, "This guy, Jason."
Oh my gosh. I have some stories about drive-thrus with your little brother and my cousin that I'm probably not going to tell right now. We'll tell that at another time, but I got some stories that would just make you laugh and maybe make dude, that's how, you were really good at impersonations. But I always remember Mr. Cook making you kind of the center of the joke, but you were like willing to do it.
Absolutely.
And it pushed you.
Yeah.
Forward. But
and he would always make fun of me. He said, "Look, people are not laughing with you. They are brutally laughing at you." At that time, I didn't know what he meant. I went, "Wait a minute, that's not good."
No, it was fun. Growing up at Sharpless, man, what is your fondest memory of Spruce grade school? What's your first memory of Spruce? Who was
Spruce?
Who was your kindergarten teacher at Spruce? Did you have
Miss Williams and Miss Gore? They was my kindergarten teacher.
Linda was, I did not have Mrs. Williams. I had so you have Mrs. Williams. A lot of people did. Mm-hmm. What was that? That was your first memory of kindergarten?
That was my first memory of kindergarten, just having her. Now, my first real memory was Miss Roddy in first grade.
First grade.
She had that paddle.
Yes, she did. She did have
that paddle. Freaking hurt. She used it on me quite a few times.
I never got paddled by Mrs. Roddy. I got paddled by Linda Gore in kindergarten. I love you, Linda. If you're watching this, I hope you're not. But like, it's all good. I deserve.
You're talking about the rule on the hand?
Yes. I don't know. That's not really. Me and Mikey and Mark, we were pulling their erasers off the pencils and we were throwing them. I don't know, at the girls or whatever we were doing, but we kept doing it. And I had, and it was another teacher. And I can't think of her name now, but it was another kindergarten teacher and Mrs. Gore. And we kept doing that, and they lined us up and just whacked us. I want to say it was probably like 3 times.
We always thought it hurt worse than it did.
But Mrs. Roddy,
Miss Roddy was a different story. When she whipped you, it hurt.
What did you get whipped for by Mrs. Roddy? What did you get whipped for?
I just remember this is one of the fondest memories I know. I walked up with my paper and she said, "If you tell me the truth, did you do good on this paper?" Well, of course, I'm going to lie and say I've done wonderful. And she just looked at it and went, "Bend over." I said, "Man, And then I started thinking, how am I going to get away with that? Why did I even do that?
What did you do? Did you cheat?
No, I just said it was, I knew I had a horrible paper.
What?
She just asked me before she even graded it. She said, how do you think you done? I did great. Thinking that she was just going to let me go back. And she just looked at it and went, right in front of the whole class.
That seems rough, but she was so, I have a picture to this day. I have it around here somewhere. My mother sent it to me, but my mother is so good at sending me these old photos, but it's a picture of me and Mrs. Roddy. Do you remember going out to recess and lining up in front of Mrs. Roddy's door? It's Mrs. Roddy, like with her arm around me. Probably because I was so afraid by the time I graduated kindergarten, I did not want to get whooped anymore like that.
Yeah.
Getting hit.
How is your mother?
She's okay. Yeah. I see her pretty often and we talk on the phone and get together for dinners. Now that I live back in West Virginia, I get to see her a lot more often, and that's really good. So,
it's good that you're close.
It is so good to be home. Hurricane, yes, sir. Yeah, it's so good. I know we got to get together here real soon.
We have to, yeah.
We're gonna get the whole 92 team together again real soon. Mrs. Moxley had reached out and said, "Hey, I found a bunch of Ron's old stuff that I know he'd want you to have it." And so Kelly and I went over there, and it is the entire 92 scorebook.
Wow.
And a bunch of photos. So it's going to stay inside the alumni, that stays with the alumni. That doesn't belong.
That's awesome.
I can't wait to share it with you guys. It is
Mike Smith, head coach of Birch.
Mike Smith. Yeah.
Never forget it.
Yeah. Hatfields, and who was the boy that
was a Trinity Crank?
Trinity Crank was the big tall guy.
Roger Miller, Roger Workman.
Roger Workman was the guy that Lenny kind of shut down that night at Logan.
Oh, Lenny shut him down that night.
Yeah.
Lenny did shut him down that night.
I got to get the scorebook out for that. Well, anyway, we all need to get together and go through that. But one more thing about Mrs. Roddy, and then we can move out of Spruce. I want to hear.
Okay.
I did not want to get paddled by that lady. But when I was in first grade, I think about this now and I think, oh my gosh, why did they do this? But I think I know why. Anybody that was misbehaving, that Mr. Lucas or Mrs. Miller didn't get. Now, Mrs. Miller, whew,
Miller's ago, yeah.
She was good. Ouch. I did get paddled there. But anybody that Mr. Lucas or Mrs. Miller didn't get, like Mrs. Roddy would get them. I don't know what the pecking order was, like which one of those three certified paddlers from the Board of Education. I don't know, but sure they didn't go through any empathy training. No offense, y'all. I love all three of you, but like Mrs. Miller.
And so do I.
But Mrs. Roddy, like when people would get in trouble in Spruce grade, and that Mrs. Roddy, they would bring them to her class, and all 20 of us had to sit there and watch this poor soul get paddled.
Yeah.
Like
I guess
it would be like, oh my God, let's not ever get in trouble.
This is what's going to happen to you.
Let's never, yeah.
There's 5th and 6th graders in here. What's this mean?
I know, like, oh, they can whoop you when you're 12. Oh my gosh, we're never going to get out of this place. That's what I remember. Like, I remember John Scaff. I love you, buddy. But like, I remember this one time, John was getting paddled. Who knows why? He ran around in a circle, and Mrs. Rocky was like the center of the Christmas tree trying to chase John.
Oh my gosh.
Is that disrespectful? That's a hilarious story. I can't help it.
It's funny.
John, it was kind of funny. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry for you.
Do you remember Kai Alper?
Yes. When y'all see
when I was stationed in Germany, we went and had dinner with him and his wife in Frankfurt. He looked me up.
That's
he looked
awesome.
me up, and I'm like, it is such a small world, and I don't know how he even found out I was there in Germany. But I got a call one night, and hey, is this Jason? I'm like, yes. This is Kai. I'm like, you got the wrong number. And right before I was hanging up, I'm like, oh, Kai Alper. Yes.
That's so awesome.
And it's a small world.
Yeah, it really is. So after high school, you went into the Army. What did you do in the Army, Jason?
I was an infantryman.
Yeah.
I was there in Germany for 2 months, and I was shipped straight to Bosnia. Yeah. And I was down there in Macedonia for 8 months. And people say it was a peacekeeping mission. No, it was nowhere near a peace. That's what they called it.
Yeah.
As soon as we crossed the Sava River into Croatia, you started hearing these bing, 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 bing on the tanks. Well, you knew what that was. I'd never been shot at. I'm asking questions. What's them little bings? That's gunfire. I'm like, oh, crap.
AK, nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm like, this is going to be bad. And then me and my buddy Riley, he got shot and killed in Iraq later on. But we were sitting between this tree, eating lunch. And then all of a sudden we heard between the tree. And he said, what was that? And I looked back and I said, that was a freaking bullet just between us. And instead of running, we just continued eating. That's just how much your mind gets programmed when you're in that kind of situation.
It's crazy, man.
You know, and it was good times, but I got divorced there, and it was not her fault. It was mine. I mean, when I came back, I was a totally different person. I don't blame her one bit. I'll never blame her. You know, it was me. And
Sorry.
I'm glad I got out when I did.
Yeah.
And,
How long did you serve altogether?
13.
Yeah.
13 years. And it was going from Fort Lewis, Washington, you know, to Fort Carson, Colorado. You know, I was just back and forth training. I'd done a recruiting for a while, you know, and I couldn't do the recruiting thing because I couldn't lie to these kids.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. I mean, I'm like, I can't sit there and tell you something that I wouldn't tell my own son.
Yeah.
It's wrong. And so I didn't keep that job very long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. And then my hobby now is paranormal investigating. I think Paul's told you about that.
Yeah. You and I talked a little bit. You mean Paul Garner, my cousin?
Yep. He's dying to go with me.
So you and I talked about it a little bit, you know, I want to circle back to that, but before we leave Sharpless though, so fondest memory of Sharpless High School, or growing up in Blair.
The first time I dunked.
The
first time I dunked.
Was that in practice? Did I not witness
we was at a game and we was playing Jaeger at home. And that's the night me, Jerry Quisenberry, we was all dunking.
I remember this.
And when I dunked, I'm like, holy crap, I dunked.
Yeah.
And so I started getting kind of, you know, ahead of myself, thinking I'm going to do it two hands, you know, and I did it the first time. And I said, I better quit while I'm ahead. I'm happy with this. And so that was my fondest memory. And then when me and Ginger started dating, that was a great
memory. You did date Ginger.
Yeah, that was a great memory.
Yeah.
And, you know,
how long did you guys date?
There's no animosity there. It's high school. It's high school.
It's a sweet thing.
And I'm not going to say my really fondest memory because it was with Ralph Cook on my birthday. Mine, Jason Moore's, mine and Shelley's fell on the same day, June 30th. James Kiss's day is June 30th. Me and James was born just so many hours apart. But Ralph Cook had that Camaro. Remember that?
I do.
Me and him was up front. Ginger and Shelley was in the back. We took off from up the hill there at number 9 where they lived. He said, I'm going to go around that curve right there where you lived across the road, that first curve.
Yeah.
We was going 90 mile an hour.
Good night.
Around that curve. And I said, this is not going to be good. And then we went around, it started swinging. We hit. And Ginger and Shelley took off running. They fell over the hill where that culvert is. And so I couldn't find them. I had to jump over in there and I had to push Ginger's butt up. And then they just took off and left me. And Ralph Cook took off and left me. So I'm sitting there going, what am I doing? And my knee was about this big around before it hit the gear shift. And I remember it was like 3 hours later up in Blair, I heard ping, 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 this big car coming up the road. I looked around, it was Ralph Cook in that Camaro. He said, please don't say nothing about this. I said, I'm not sure you're going to get away with that one. That was a good memory.
Oh my God.
That was.
Yeah. Wow. How long did you and Ginger Wheatley date? I remember you dated for a bit, and then was that your senior year?
About a year. It was my senior year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, fun time.
And I go back to them times all the time, Mom. We had a blast. I'm always taking them out to Charles High School. Always. If I could go back, what would I do different? You know, and there's some things I do different, some things I wouldn't, because I just had so much fun. The
Yeah,
friendship.
yeah, it's hypothetical anyway. The thing is, we can't do it different. And what we did, the good, the bad, the mistakes, etc. I think that's what makes us who we are. That builds
Today, absolutely.
character.
100%,
So, yeah, I don't want
I
to do
100% agree.
all my
Now,
mistakes.
when you was in the Navy, was you on ships?
I was on a ship. I was on 2 different ships. Finally, almost 2 years of engineering school, and then I was on the USS Abraham Lincoln.
Yep.
And then I was on the USS David R. Ray, which was a destroyer. So I went from a 5,600 man, aircraft carrier to a 327 man, men and women destroyer.
Now, David R. Ray is an destroyer, right? That was the destroyer.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
sunk in the middle of the Pacific now. She sunk. They decommissioned her and sunk her in 2006.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to fly out for the decommissioning ceremony, but yeah, they put her to the bottom of Davy Jones' locker. But yeah, she was a beautiful ship and fast.
Oh, absolutely.
And fun. And we used to fish for shark on the fantail when the old man would let us on the weekends when we were out to sea, and he would feed us crab legs and steak and cold beer. And it was the
How was it?
I loved every minute of it. They were good to me. There was parts of it that was just nonsense, but I got a good education. They gave me all kinds of college money to finish my college degree afterwards. I got an engineering degree while I was in the Navy, and got to see the world, and it was just fun, dude. I had fun, and I know so many people have bad experiences in the military.
Not me.
I just,
my basic training was so much fun for me.
Yeah.
Everybody else was crying. Oh God, I had so much fun in basic training. That was my funnest time.
I loved it.
Yeah. And
I mean, basic training got to be old after a while, but I did love it. I loved all of the Navy, every bit of it.
Absolutely.
Except the duty that the 0 to 4 watch.
Oh, fire watch.
That was the worst of all the watches. I'll take 0 to 4 that was the worst watch. And you got to work the next day.
Yeah.
So you start getting this habit of drinking coffee on watch, and then
you can't go to sleep.
Yeah. So, but it was, other than that, it was good. It was a fun time. I enjoyed every minute of it, and they were good to me, and yeah, man, loved it. Got to spend time in San Diego, 6 months. My C school was in San Diego, and then went up to Seattle. We were in Long Beach, and then the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Group moved from Long Beach to Naval Station Everett, which was across from Whidbey Island. If you were
right,
that hot.
I went to
Fort Kent.
Fort Irwin, California is where I went to train for with Iraq.
Okay.
I don't know how far Fort Irwin is from where you was at.
It was Mount Shasta. Is that the Mount Shasta area?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So on the border of Washington or Oregon, California.
Yep. And I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated every bit of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh gosh, this is what we gotta look forward to.
Yeah.
But
well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's what really brought me into my paranormal thing, because that's over there. I've seen stuff that I just cannot explain to this day.
Tell me about, all right, let's jump into this. Tell me about what are the things that you've done and seen on Blair Mountain. And I don't know, just catch me up to speed. I don't know. Okay. I don't know what I believe about this stuff, but all ears.
This is something I'm always a skeptic. If I'm asked to come somewhere to investigate, I go in skeptical, because if I go in with this belief that I'm already prone to know I'm gonna believe something. So I'm always skeptical. My very first experience on Blair Mountain was on the second horseshoe, and I was coming home from work from Sable up back in 1992. It was raining. So I was coming up the mountain. I seen this man hitchhiking in a raincoat, and I'm not the only one seeing this. And so I don't pick up hitchhikers, so I just kept going. I get to the next horseshoe. There's another man with the raincoat on hitchhiking. I'm like, that's kind of bizarre. Am I daydreaming here? I'm not that sleepy. And then I get to the top of the mountain. There is the same guy with and so I'm saying, okay, I'm seeing stuff. There's no way this is going to happen 3 times in a row. So I just kept on off the mountain. All of a sudden, I looked over the corner of my eye, my left eye, and I seen this yellow. I just see a yellow silhouette running beside of me. And I'm looking down to my speedometer, and I'm going 48 miles an hour. I'm like, this ain't right. And I was scared to look. I said, if I'm looking at this yellow thing at 48 miles an hour, so I pick up my speed. And when I'm picking up my speed, I look over and he's gone. I'm like, I'm seeing things. So I looked over to my right. This guy's running parallel to me, looking straight at me like this. And I'm looking dead at him. And all of a sudden he just disappears. But when I look in my mirror, all I see, Jeff, I swear to the hand of God, this is something I'll never forget, is a dog just going behind me. And I researched for years thinking, what did I see? Only thing I can think of is a skinwalker. That's a Navajo culture thing.
Yeah, I've read a little bit about them.
Yeah, but Shawnee people, the Shawnee Indians, I think every Indian tribe has their own version of a skinwalker.
Skinwalker, yeah.
Because the skinwalker is just a bad medicine man using black magic. And I think every tribe had that. What I seen that night, that was my very first experience. That's kind of what got me into this. And the stuff that I have captured, it's phenomenal. I mean, if somebody asked me now, is there a life after death? Do you believe in that? I have to say absolutely. Just by the stuff that I've captured, intelligent, especially on Blair Mountain, voices. I had a ball of light follow me all the way off the mountain one night. I was by myself. I'm by myself. And it's pitch black. This light follows me all the way off the mountain just to make sure I got off. I truly believe this thing was helping me get off safely. And I would have to send you some stuff that would blow your mind.
I don't want to see
Dwight Williamson. You know Dwight Williamson?
Dwight Williamson?
Yeah, he was a magistrate at Logan for a long time. Now he's a history buff. I get with him a lot.
Okay.
And we go over things like the Mamie Thurman story.
Yeah, yeah.
That's very interesting.
I've read that book. I've read Kelly's got a book on that. I've
very
read
interesting.
A little bit about
her murder is still unsolved.
Yes, yeah.
And people ask if her ghost haunts Holden 22. I don't know. I have never seen it. I've never seen her.
Yeah.
Well, now, is it possible? Absolutely. Her soul was unrested, but I've never seen her personally. But I've heard people, I've interviewed people said they have, but until I see something with my eyes, then I'm going to believe it. I'll listen to their claims. Absolutely. But I've never seen anything. Now, across the road from where I live, remember where I lived?
Yeah, of course.
Across the road. Church. Yeah. Behind Tracy Williams' house was a cemetery.
Yes.
Okay. There was a man named Mark No. Jerry No. Remember him?
I know Jerry. Yeah.
Jerry's brother Mark killed himself. He was a Satan worshiper. Okay. He was buried. He's buried back there. And he was.
I didn't know that the No's were from Blair. So Jerry's brother.
Yeah. Jerry's brother Mark was a Satanist. Wow. And he killed himself down there at where Ricky Walker lived.
I know that whole bottom, down there, yeah.
Okay, he killed himself.
I remember these stories of that stuff going on over there.
Yeah, and I believe it's true. And the reason why is me and Hope Baldwin went up there one night and nothing was happening. And I just started calling him out. I said, look, I don't think you're up here. There's nothing up here. And Hope was beside me, and all of a sudden my back just started burning on fire. And I was right over top. I didn't even know I was on top of his grave. And I was just calling him out. I was pretty much just calling him out. I was antagonizing. Hope said, lift up your shirt. She lifted up my shirt. There's a picture of a scratch just going right down my back. I don't know how it got there. Now, could I have scratched it on a vine? Absolutely. But I would have felt that before that. And so people ask me, it's not my job to prove to people it's real. It's my job just to show them the evidence and let them decide for themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I do know this. I know that there's a lot of things, in the world that's unknown, I do believe in, you know, the scriptures and that there are the powers of darkness and of this world, and that spirituality is very real, and
Yes.
some of it not holy at all. And I don't want anything to do with it, man. I won't sleep
Yeah.
very well, Jason. I don't want to have nightmares.
No.
I'll have nightmares, man.
Before I go to any investigation, I do a protection prayer that my papa taught me.
Yeah.
It's never failed me. Never failed me.
Yeah.
And it's just but you have to, here's the thing, you have to believe in this. You can't just go in there willy-nilly and say, okay, let's see what happens. No, you have to believe this. You have to believe that's a possibility that this could happen. You know, and if you say a prayer, you have to believe in that prayer. You know
that. Yeah.
And like I said, it's not my job to convince anybody it's real, but I can show evidence to people I've caught.
Yeah.
Then I'll let them judge for themselves. Most of the
You
time,
have
it's
some
like,
evidence recorded.
oh, absolutely.
Whew. We'll have to.
I can send it to you after this.
Well, when we get together sometime, I'd love to see it. But man, that's spooky, man. What makes you want to keep going back to Blair Mountain, and like, what makes you like? How do you get the nerve to want to go back and do stuff like that?
It's not the nerve. It's not nerve. It's just the history of that mountain. My great grandfather fought in that war. That's where the term redneck came from.
Do you remember all the stories? Do you remember all the ghost stories that we would get about Blair Mountain, this and that? I used to think as I got older, like, parents and grandparents were just trying to keep us from wandering over in Blair Mountain at night like boys do. You know how we did when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
Always scooting around after midnight. But like, it was a spooky place. A lot of stories.
Especially at dark.
Oh, man.
Blair Mountain is very, very ominous. I would say ominous. Because if you're there by yourself, it's ominous. Because I got a thermal camera that I just scanned. Because the thermal picks up heat and I can see if anything's coming to me or whatever. But there's also them things I can't see. I've had something whisper right in my ear, you know, hey. And I'm turning around looking, seeing who it is. And I'm by myself and I know nobody's coming. And it's all about faith and how, and you don't show fear because they feed on all that, is what I heard. Now, if I've had something that scared me to death, I'm out. I'm gone. If I can't control it, I'm out. You know, but there's some things that I've just caught, and I don't like going nowhere unless I know the absolute history of it. I want to study that history to see if it actually happened and not just legend or folklore. I want to see if it actually happened. And a lot of times it actually, Dwight Williamson will say, this has happened, you know, and that's where I like to go. And I've not been let down.
Well, there definitely was a lot of bloodshed in Logan County, from the Indian Wars to Prince William's War up through the Revolutionary War and the mining wars and the Civil War for that. A lot of bloodshed in Appalachia for sure, as it was right at the edge of the West back in the day. So I mean, it has just always been a stomping ground to be defended. But have a president of the United States, Warren Harding, call in troops to Blair, West Virginia. That's big. It is big.
It's very big.
It is,
because the Blair Mountain War was called the largest uprising of arms since the Civil War. That's crazy.
It sure was. Yeah.
And,
sure was. Yeah. What did 20 some men eventually die in that? Was it
28 men died.
28? I had that wrong.
Total.
It was pretty much a 3-day affair when they finally, when the federal troops kind of came in and it quailed it down, right?
Right.
If I'm mistaken, though, the federal troops did not fire one shot at civilians.
No, they didn't.
It was the Logan County, Don Chafin.
It was Don Chafin and his gurus.
Yeah.
Don Chafin was the sheriff of Logan when all this happened, and he was just nothing about money and power.
Yeah. What was the old FBI? What was the original FBI? The dudes that ended up making up the FBI.
The guys that Hatfield
from Chicago. Started with
they called the
bodies, or anyway.
I know what you're talking about. Baldwin Felts.
Baldwin Felts agency. Yeah, that ended up, I think some of their family ended up like
well, they took Sid Hatfield out, which was the sheriff of Matewan.
Right.
That's what the Matewan massacre was about.
Yeah.
That's kind of what kicked all that off.
Hey, speaking of Matewan massacre and the Shawnee and all that, anyway, I don't know how we're going full circle. I remember was talking to Mrs. Moxley the other day, coming back to Sharpless. Weren't you in the Aracoma story for a year or two with Mr. Moxley? Did you not do that a couple times, 2 years in a row?
I did it 2 years. I did it once in 1992, and then 2010, I played Bowling Baker.
Tell me about, so I was trying to tell Kelly, she graduated with Robbie, and Robbie was a couple years younger than me, but we lived there in number 9. And I was telling Kelly, I'm like, he always had like a dugout canoe project for us, or these artifacts, and he would bring these artifacts home and we would all go over and clean them. And like, he was he was a journeyman archaeologist for sure. He didn't just coach the basketball team and play in the Aracoma story, but like, that dude was definitely a journeyman archaeologist.
He was so intelligent.
He really was. So tell me about your time in the both times in the Aracoma story. What was that like? 92.
The first time he asked me to do it, he said, listen, we need somebody called Crazy Wolf. And that was right up my alley.
Crazy Wolf.
And the only part I had was they threw a fish up out of the water and said, hey, I got a fish, let's catch him. That's the only thing I had. And Ron Moxley played Logan, but just that little part, I learned so much history of how Ron Moxley brought that character Logan to life.
He did.
And it was so amazing to me. And 2010, my nephew, Logan, he wanted to do it. And he was one of the little kids. And he said, I'll do it if you do Bowling Baker. I said, okay, I'll do it. And they said that was the best show in 2010 that had ever been happening with Aracoma story. And I am so glad I got to experience that with him, because he loved it.
That is fantastic. I brought my daughters to the Aracoma story. I bought them a little book too, a biography on Aracoma, but every time I had the opportunity, we lived in Chicago for a long time before we moved back east, but I brought them to it, but I don't think it was 2010. See Laura Lynn, she's 24. She would, I think it would have been like a couple years before that or after it, but it wasn't the year you did it. I wish I had known that. We would have, that'd have been a lot of fun to see that. So, but good experience, obviously.
When I seen you, I was like, oh my gosh, Jeff's back. And I told Mom, I said, Mom, Jeff's back, and that's when I reached out to you. I'm like, oh God, I love to talk to Jeff.
Dude, I know. I miss you so bad, man. It would be,
I know.
We need to get together real soon. It is surreal. Now I have come back. There were a couple of years when I didn't get to see Mom because we lived in Seattle. My first wife and I. I was out in Seattle. That's what I thought. You told me you were at Fort Kent for a while, right?
No, I wasn't at Fort Kent. Right below Seattle. I'm gonna let you guess it.
Hold on. So I thought it was Fort Kent was right out. So not near Mount Rainier.
It was right near Mount Rainier. Had the air base right in the middle of it.
Well, so yeah, the air base was Puget. The Puget Naval Air Base. Oh goodness, Whidbey Air Station was the Naval Air Station, but it's right on the tip of my tongue. You're gonna have to bail me out. What is it?
You don't remember it?
I do. I can't remember the name of it.
Jeff, I'm trying to think the name of it.
You were just bluffing me. I got
Washington.
I thought it was Fort Kent.
No, it wasn't Fort Kent. Oh,
was
my
it an
gosh.
Army base?
See, my memory's gone. It is so gone.
Whidbey Air Station was a naval air station, but it was a joint air base. Army base in Washington.
Yeah.
No, brother.
Oh my God.
All I can think of is Fort Kent, which was the Army hospital, and then right near Whidbey Air Station, which was a naval air station.
It was a station right below Seattle. It was a town right below Seattle.
Tacoma?
Tacoma. That's where I was stationed in Tacoma.
We'll have to Google it, folks. We will Google it and figure out
Yes,
where,
absolutely. See, this is one of I'm not making this.
find out where Gandhi was stationed. Gandhi.
This is not an excuse. This is how my mind works. You can ask my mom. I can remember stuff from 20 years ago, and I can't remember something from
All
yesterday.
right, mother. That is all right.
And it absolutely is so depressing when I try to remember, because that's where I met Sergeant Major Carter, which I was in Germany with him.
Really?
And yeah, and he was there too, and he wanted me to come to Fort. He wanted me to
Fort Lewis.
Fort Lewis.
Fort Lewis. I know Fort Lewis. I don't know why it just came to. Yeah, Lewis and Clark.
Fort
That's where
Lewis.
that's where Lewis finally punched out to the Pacific Ocean for the first time, just north of the Columbia River.
Puget Sound's right across. It rained all the freaking time.
I loved being in Seattle. I loved climbing Mount Rainier. I don't know if you got a chance to do it, but
I went and played frisbee golf.
and Mount
That's
Rainier.
where I first was introduced to frisbee golf.
Frisbee golf. That was
I loved it.
It was in every military base. Frisbee golf.
It was.
I loved Mount Rainier. That whole area. It was such a great. Where I started fly fishing for steelhead.
Yeah.
If you remember the steelhead fishing out there, but it was just absolutely amazing. And climbing.
We trained in Yakima.
Oh, did you?
Yakima. That's where we trained. See, I can remember all that, but I can't remember the base.
Yeah. Fort Lewis. Yeah, I know Fort Lewis. I loved that whole area. Mount Baker.
It just rained too much, Jeff.
Yeah, but in the summer it was beautiful. And then
I agree.
it turned to snow out in the Cascades, and you got some really good powder skiing. So
yeah, because once you went to Seattle, you was there in Canada. I mean, boom, you was there.
Yes.
I mean, it was what, 20 miles or something?
Always when we were coming back in, back into port, we would come through the Puget Sound, and then our old man would let us. So we'd be gone for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time, and he would let us stop in the final stop, just to kind of get it all worked out of your system.
Yeah,
there were a bunch of sailors on board. Was Victoria, Canada, right?
Yeah,
that little off of Vancouver. Which
oh,
is
that
like an
little
old English seaport. Yeah, it's a bunch of old English people that still talk very much like they're from London.
Yeah,
and a bunch of tea, shops. But he would stop there for 3 or 4 days and let 300 sailors loose on Victoria, Canada. Be like, all right, now we're gonna be home in 3 days. So whatever you got to get worked out.
Right.
Because we're gonna be back in the U.S. of A.
Yeah.
So Victoria, I think they got sick and tired of us sailors, man. They were here out. Yeah, but it was fun.
That's awesome. I just can't. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember that. I mean, that's it. Like I told Mom. Mom tells me, or I tell Mom, I can remember stuff from 20 years ago, but you asked me something yesterday, I cannot do it, and it's scary. It scares me to death.
Yeah.
That I'm losing my mind. I mean, dementia's setting in. I know that. But it is what it is. I mean, I'm trying to be happy-go-lucky. I mean, I'll forget her name after a while.
You won't forget your mom's name. She
No,
won't.
I won't.
Never. Will line you up and paddle you like Mrs. Roddy. So next year you're going to be around. You're going to be good next year. Labor Day 2023, we are about to announce this SHS alumni. And then we're going to do a poll for future reunions after that to talk about time and place. But you're going to be there, right?
Absolutely.
You're going to be there. It's going to be
This is awesome. I mean, I've been wanting to do this for sure.
We missed you with the basketball team conversations, but it was such a great time, all three of them. And you were just such a big part of my childhood and just
as you were mine, sir.
Have missed you a lot, man. So
you may, man, it's so good to see you, Jeff. It really is,
dude. Likewise, brother. Let's
I would love to see Paul. I miss Paul. I type him on Facebook sometimes. He's like, man, let's, hey, I miss you, man. Let's face chat. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
Well, look here, you've done Zoom. You didn't know how to do Zoom, and now you do.
A funny story about Paul. Fire tower. There's a thing. Remember that bar that went out? That bar that went out to go up on top?
Yeah.
Paul was a monkey.
I remember.
He had no fear.
None.
So he said, come on out. I'll catch you. I said, how are you going to catch me when you're on top of the fire tower?
That don't make no sense.
No, I was shimmying out. He's like, you can do it. I said, I want to fall. He said, well, if you fall, you'll never hear from me again. You can't blame me. But I got scared and I went back in. But he was just like jumping off of that thing and sliding back into the thing. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Cousin Paul, man. I grew up with that boy.
Paul's a wonderful
I
guy.
love him to death. Yeah.
They all are.
Yeah. I grew up with all three of those. They were like my brothers, my Aunt Barbara raised me for a good chunk of time. So they were like brothers. I still see Paul quite
Now,
often.
how's Valerie and Amy?
Valerie's well. I just talked to her tonight. Amy's good. Amy lives here in Hurricane. Yeah, they're doing really well, man. They're
Good.
good. I think it'd be good for all of us to see one another more often.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Kelly and I, we like to have big parties here. So we might have a big Sharpless High School alumni party here real soon.
I would love that.
So, but it would be
this has made my day. This has made my day.
Me too, man. I'm so glad. Is there any other now, this isn't going to be the last one that you do with this, but any other stories you want to get out there for the alumni? Anything that you want to any other story you want to preserve? Or
the only thing I want to say is you guys, Jeff, you've been very respectful to me. I haven't opened up completely about my diagnosis, but I'll do that in a personal time. I just miss all you guys, man. What you're doing for this community, I have so much admiration for you. There's nobody else wants to do this. You stepped up and done this, and I just can't thank you enough for that. And I'm sure I speak for the rest of the guys too. They say the same thing. Well, I just can't wait to get to see all you guys again. Put my hands around your neck, man, and just go from there.
It's going to be good. I appreciate that's kind words, man. We're just trying to take what's been given to us and just keep on moving it forward to the next generation. And hopefully all of us, and you were the class of 93, the last class to graduate from Sharpless High School. And you and Jason,
Ollie and Jason,
Shelly, Michael, and Gary Lane. Gosh, Alan Gore,
Dallas
Baldwin. I bet we could name them all. Hope Baldwin.
Tina Farrell. Her mother lives 4 houses up from me right now. Linda Farrell.
Yeah, I know I'm missing folks, but last class, 1993. So thank you for being on tonight. Let's get together real soon, man. I'm gonna jump away from you, as they say.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Dude, yeah, love you, brother. It's good to see you.
I love you, bro.
Take care.
Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye now.